So let me set the context a little bit. I believe that you can raise your hand to say if any of these apply to you. Do you feel as if you're stuck in the middle between management and your project or program? Right? You have a project team. Maybe you're working on a program as a program manager or as a product owner, all that stuff. If you feel as if you're stuck in the middle, please raise your hand. Are you supposed to work on several agile projects at the same time? Raise your hand. And if you're trying to work on programs, which are collections of projects with one business objective, then raise your hand. Any of the above, raise your hand. And I see many hands raised. So WebEx is telling me that I have 18 displayed. And I suspect that there might, 24, 25, 26. So at least a quarter of you feel as if you're stuck in the middle somehow. This notion of multitasking on Agile projects does not make sense. This notion of trying to be a project or program manager or a project leader while your management wants something and your people want something else is the stuck in the middle part. So here's the thing. Management actually helps people in the organization deliver. Oh, you can put your hands down now. Thank you. And that management does this by creating coherent product visions, which if you're a product owner, you might create a product vision, or a product manager, you might create a product vision. If you're a project leader or a project manager or a scrum master, you might actually have a charter where you describe the project vision. Management, and I'm not very big on the PMO. I really like it when senior management, in the form of an operations committee, makes the decisions about which projects to do when and when you need to have decisions. If you are a project manager or scrum master or product owner, you want to know about the risks so you can make decisions. And those of you in the stuck in the middle and in technical leadership positions also need to know who needs what and when do they need to know it. So this is a form of management. It's not command and control management. It's facilitative management. And this is all about how Agile and collaboration and changes everything. People take responsibility for their work in Agile. I actually think that in a lot of not-so-Agile projects, people take responsibility for their work. But in Agile, we do this by design. People work collaboratively inside the project and across the organization. And we focus on this in Agile, and non-Agile projects also do this. Teams often uncover and in Agile certainly manage the requirements by themselves. So manager as controller does not fit with Agile. Manager as controller doesn't really fit with almost anything to do with knowledge work. And that's the problem I want to talk about today. When you have controlling management, you have central authorities. Now, centralizing some things can be very helpful. For example, if you have a 50,000 person company, having just one accounts payable person does not make sense. You probably want to manage finance by business unit, by product line, by any number of ways. Those people have to collaborate with each other. But imagine if you had one central finance service that tried to control all of the financials for one organization that's as large as 50,000 people. Oh, the slowness would be amazing. And the problem with a lot of central authorities is that they destroy autonomy. And I don't know about you, I managed to ignore them back when I was inside the organization. I always felt if I could either ignore the central authority and ask for forgiveness later as opposed to asking permission now, I would actually be doing a better job for my project team, for my program, for the people who wanted to know about the requirements, and even for the customers. And I suspect that a number of you might not be as, quote, bad or, quote, good as I was at asking for permission, I should say asking for forgiveness later. Some of you might want to actually ask for permission now because you're not, you don't want to get laid off or fired. But I think it's really important to say, what do we want from the central authorities? What do we need from people who are controlling, and I put that in quotes, management? So we want an idea of where we're headed, and we need to know, are we headed towards success or failure? We need to know that in every single project or program, whether it's Agile or not Agile. And the way I have seen this work is with servant leadership. Servant leadership is a facilitative form of leadership. And if you look at the characteristics of servant leaders from Keith's excellent and small book called The Case for Servant Leadership, there are the 7 characteristics. These servant leaders are self-aware. So when I said to you, I am much more likely to ask for forgiveness rather than ask for permission, that's a piece of me being self-aware of my personality. I also am aware of the possible consequences if I do that. So I never actually was fired, but a number of my bosses were not very happy with me back when I was inside the organization, and I just took the bull by the horns and asked for forgiveness later. So you might want your managers to be more happy with you because you can't do anything if you're hamstrung by your managers because they don't trust you, right? That does not work either. These facilitative managers, these servant leaders, listen. They listen to everybody in the organization. They share the power. I have often discovered that the more I share the power, the more I, in effect, give away my personal power, the more effective I am, especially in a project management, program management, technical leadership position. Servant leaders help other people grow in any number of ways. And one of the ways they do that is by coaching people and not controlling them. And I'm going to talk about every single one of these things in more detail in just a couple of minutes. They unleash the energy and intelligence of others. If you have ever been in a position where you said, I could do more. I am quite capable of doing more. And my managers just will not let me do more. That's where your managers are not being servant leaders, because you have the energy and intelligence to do more, and servant leaders would unleash that energy and intelligence. And servant leaders work to develop their foresight so that they can act and not react. And for me, in terms of projects and programs, this is all about understanding risks and managing risks. So let's go on to more of this. If you're looking at Robert Greenleaf's book about servant leadership, which is a terrific book, and the 25th anniversary edition, I actually found a lot of value in the forewords and the afterwords, not so much in the writing itself because the writing is a little dated. But Greenleaf's best test for servant leadership is these 3 questions. Do those served grow as persons, right? How am I helping these people grow? Do they, while being served, become healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, more likely themselves to become servants? And the way I think about this